Welcome to the special edition of the Fast Lane. Trey Lau here with you, and I'm joined by Damien and Sordelett for the News Advance previewing Liberty versus Campbell. And let's jump right into it. Let's go with the sentimental story. As we record Wednesday night, you wrote this story about Caleb Sneed, the Heritage grad playing for Campbell, coming back home. His first game obviously missed the fall season last year, so maybe their best receiver. What is being able to connect with the team and talk to him? What's the sense from Sneed that he's coming home for a really true home game for him? After coming off a disappointing or obviously not being able to play in the fall.
Yeah, he's excited. He said, he couldn't have scripted it any better. To break his right hand in the penultimate game of the 2019 season against Kennesaw State, a game he had 99 receiving yards and a touchdown, and broke his hand, missed the last couple of weeks, was recovered from that, and then a freak weight room accident where he tore a labrum in his hip, had to have surgery in June of 2020, and had to watch as his teammates played an all FBS fall schedule against Georgia Southern, Coastal Carolina, Appalachian State, Wake Forest. Three of those games were on national television. So, for him, he missed out on a lot of exposure for people to see, how good he really is. He was a freshman All-American in 2018, first team freshman All-American, I should say. And, at 6'4", 205 pounds, he has the speed, he has the strength and the skill to really excel there out on the boundary. So once he got cleared in February, he went through the process of making sure, hey, I'm back, I'm ready to go. And, he was able to get going, and he's excited to get a chance to show people that he hasn't lost anything from where he was during, his redshirt freshman and redshirt sophomore years, and 18 and 19. So he's ready to go. He was a teammate in high school of Chris Megginson for a year, and they're probably going to be lined up across from each other quite a bit on Saturday. He played against Appomattox and Javon Scruggs in his junior and senior year. Appomattox won both those games as part of their back-to-back state championships. He suited up against Micah Glaze, who was a reserve linebacker for Liberty when he played at Brookville High School. So there's a lot of sentiment around there. He's got friends, family, former coaches, and teammates from Heritage who'll be out there, and there'll be a pretty good Campbell contingent out there cheering for number 8 when the Camels are on offense.
You kind of touched on Campbell's season last year. Very unique for an FBS team. One of the few that didn't, play in the spring. They just opted for fall against FBS opponents to get a full spring practice. How unique is that? This is more in line with the FBS schools that Liberty will play this year. How unique is that for the Flames to get kind of a team on a similar schedule to teams that they're going to play throughout the year compared to, a lot of these FCS opponents that are coming off, instead of spring practice, a spring season where they could, that's a different dynamic we've never seen.
Yeah, and Campbell took advantage of the pandemic last year by telling these FBS teams, hey, we'll play you because you need to fill weeks in your schedule. And Campbell was able to do that, get 4 guaranteed games out of it. And again, the national exposure, 3 of those games were on national television, including a game against Coastal that was a Friday night game on ESPN. And that type of exposure, the amount of money you get in guaranteed from Coastal pales in comparison to what they got playing last year. And I think that was the type of schedule like Mike Minter wanted for his group, because last year was the final year of them building up to 63 scholarships from where they were in 2017 was the last year of them being a non-scholarship team in the Pioneer League, and then transitioning into a scholarship team in 2018 with the Big South Conference. He started with 21 incoming freshmen for the 17 class, redshirted them. That includes Caleb Sneed. Said, hey, you're on scholarship, but you can't play because we're in a non-scholarship team, non-scholarship league. Then you get 12 to 15 guys coming in every year, and by the time they get to 2020, you're getting to that last recruiting class that will get you to 63. So 2021 is like the first year they have cycled through and gotten to 63. So that type of experience was good. The spring was good because now you're able to get in these FBS transfers, all 15 of them. You have 20 returning starters back. that spring allowed a lot of cohesion to be built, especially for a run defense that was gutted a lot last year. I mean, playing Georgia Southern, App State, Wake Forest, you're going to give up some rushing yards. So that's something that they needed to address. They got some defensive linemen to be able to help plug some holes, and hopefully we'll see them as they enter this year take a step forward in terms of being stout in the run to back up what turned out to be a fairly formidable pass defense.
Yeah, you talk about their passing attack. Let's start with the offensive side of the ball. And we touched on it last week. If we picked a weakness on their defense, on Liberty's defense, it would be their pass defense, but really not a weakness. It shows how strong this is. But they will be tested in this game, a very veteran offense, a veteran quarterback, and a passing attack that was able to move the ball last year against, the Coastals, even Wake Forest of the world, which is an ACC team. So this is no joke of a passing attack that's going to be a challenge for Liberty.
Yeah, and everything starts with Haj Malik Williams, the quarterback who, like Snead, was a first-team freshman All-American in 2019. I mean, he had a really phenomenal year. He's a dual-threat guy who led the team in rushing yards, passing yards, and had most rushing touchdowns for them last year as well. He's a guy who, based on his pre-snap reads and what he's able to do in selling these RPOs, where if he watches those linebackers bite or those defensive backs bite, he knows he can get something over the top, and that's something he's done very well. And because of his versatility, we've seen Campbell each of the last 2 years come out with a double pass where you throw it out to a wide receiver and then throw back to Williams, who's got an entourage of his offensive linemen ready to block for him down the field, and it's resulted in 2 touchdowns each of the last few years. So Campbell's got those tricks up their sleeve. They're very balanced in terms of their run and their pass. We've touched on Williams and we've touched on Snead, and those two will be a pretty good combination moving forward. But from running back, they bring back CJ Freeman, who's had a really good career there, and then you add in some Michael Jamerson and Lamihi McDowell, who they come in and they can be some bruising backs. So Campbell's got the ability to be balanced, and depending on what the offense gives them, they can go one way or the other and still be successful. And that's something that as Liberty's looking ahead to this week, you got to be wary, because Campbell, this is the FBS game. They're going to probably bring out all the stops, and that's something to be very concerned about as you move forward this week for Liberty.
You touched on a lot, went over their offense really well, and you're also calling Campbell. That's the version of their trick play coming up this weekend. So if it happens, you might get a job on a coaching staff. Where you're able to scout players, Damien. You touched on the defense a little bit. Looking there too deep, a lot of seniors and juniors. I mean, basically all but 2 are either a junior or a grad, or all but 2 are seniors or a graduate transfer. That's a very experienced defense. You touched on it. What are you expecting from Liberty's offense in its ability to move the ball? Are you expecting a shootout, most likely in this game?
I think Liberty's defense is going to be able to make some plays because of how veteran they are and the depth they have. Campbell's got a lot of depth in terms of their starters, in terms of experience, but behind that, there's still some question marks. You have some graduate transfers who are coming in using that COVID year of eligibility to be able to play again. But you have the starters, you know what you got, and like a guy like Darian Slade at Rover, who was an NFL prospect last year and opted to come back and get some more film on him to see, if the NFL scouts feel a little bit more interested in him this year. And then, I mean, that's something that's going to be interesting, because if you look at what Campbell did on defense last year, they gave up nearly 300 rushing yards a game. And, I get it. They're playing all FBS teams, but it's still 300 yards a game is still, eye popping. And what did Liberty do exceptionally well last year? Run the ball, 252 yards a game. So I have a feeling Liberty's attack will be to run the ball, really establish that, and then be able to pop some plays over the top, because when Campbell has to bring an 8th or 9 guy into the box, you leave guys like Kevin Shaw, CJ Daniels, Demario Douglas, DJ Shaw, Javian Lofton, those guys, in one-on-one matchups with maybe just one high safety. And that could be something that Liberty could exploit quite a bit in this matchup.
What do you want to see from the offense? Maybe a couple of keys that you feel more confident about this team. Obviously, the high expectations. As they get later in the season, when they face the Ole Miss, even Syracuse to a degree, and Louisiana and the Armies of the world. What do you want to see in this game that can translate, throughout the season?
Yeah, I want to see Liberty be able to run its tempo offense. And not have to go to complementary football in order to save the defense. A lot of times last year, Liberty would really slow the game down and maintain time of possession. And they won time of possession battle, I think like 10 of the 11 games they played. And, they were one of the nation leaders holding the ball for more than half a game. And that was because they just didn't have the depth, especially at linebacker. So I think this year, if they can go their tempo, score within a couple minutes, and the defense come out, get a 3 and out, offense goes out, scores quick again, defense comes in, gets a 3 and out, and they're able to rotate guys in and stay fresh. That's going to be something I want to see, because if they have to revert back to complementary football and just keep the ball away from these opposing offenses, that's going to be a sign that maybe the depth isn't where it should be. And another key is most opposing coaches know you got to keep Liberty's offense on the field. So I want to see that defense with its depth be able to get off the field. Maybe it's not a 3 and out, but maybe it's you give up a first down, get a 3 and out after that. Make sure a drive's not extended to 10 plays. Make sure it's kept to like 6 or less. And that's something I kind of want to see out of the defense this year. And, if you're able to do that, and then the offense able to go down and do its thing in like a couple of minutes, that'll be something that will make this Liberty team really potent this year.
Well, let's go to the Vegas side of this. I'm using, once again, like the Virginia preview, I'm using Kenny White's magazine, using his line, our frequent guest now on the Fast Lane. He's got it at -44 with the over being 67. Do you think Campbell could keep it relatively that close, or do you expect a game where maybe Liberty could start slow and they pull away or do you expect an explosion right off the jump?
-44 is the highest.
A lot.
Yeah, because most
put in perspective, his final score is 56-10. So this is using his algorithm just to put in.
I mean, most I've seen so far this week have been Liberty at -22.5. Highest I've seen is -27.5.
So we'll go with that. -27.
Yeah,
we'll cut the difference.
I was thinking it's going to be probably around 4 touchdowns. I mean, unless Liberty is just humming along, you got a feeling if you're going well in the first half, Malik Willis is going to be out early in the second half, and you'll get Jonathan Bennett some playing time, get your second string, and to get them some reps. I think 28 is a good number to go with. And if you look at the trends against FCS teams when the starting quarterback's in, I'm not going to count that North Alabama game last year when Malik Willis was out and Chris Ferguson's in, and the offense just didn't look itself. When you have a Buckshot Calvert in 2019, and then you have Malik Willis in last year against Western Carolina, 28 is a good number to go around just to be on the safe side. And I think in the 60s, I'll lean towards 60s, high 70s for over under, just because if Liberty can put up some points, maybe give up a touchdown or two here and there, that will get you up to that number.
Once Liberty, we presume, gets the backups in, give me maybe 1 to 2 players you want to see kind of have some sort of showcase or be able to be like, hey, this guy can do something as we get into the season.
Yeah, first and foremost, I want to see how Jonathan Bennett does in his third year in the system. He was the backup in 2019, but then had the freak injury celebrating someone else's touchdown and missed that year, and then was the third string all of last year. If he gets in, I kind of want to see his improvement to back up what the coaches have been saying, that he has the best grasp of the offense out of all the backup quarterbacks. And then on defense, I'm kind of interested to see if Ahmad Walker the freshman linebacker out of Georgia, gets some extended time. He's a guy that's going to actually play probably every game this year, and is a guy that they're not going to redshirt. He's going to be a guy that if he gets some extended reps early, gets some confidence, which he doesn't lack in at all, and has a good game, I think you're going to see him get extended playing time this year with grad transfers like Rashad Harding and Story Jackson, and then one of the defensive captains, and Aaron Pierre, and that gives you 4 really solid linebackers in there. 3 have a lot of experience, and one's going to be coming in hair blazing. And then the other guy is Rocket Rahimi, the backup rover to Javon Scruggs. I've heard a lot of good things about him in terms of his speed, his versatility back there, and I kind of want to see how well he does filling in for Scruggs, because once Scruggs does move on, you're going to need a viable guy who comes in, can run the defense, be the quarterback of the general, the alpha dog of that unit, and it'd be nice to see what Rahimi can do in his first year at Liberty.
Well, Dame, I want to appreciate you joining me tonight as we record this. Where can our listeners get another great article from you about Caleb Snead, the homecoming for him? Where can they get that and more great content from you and News Advance?
Yeah, you can go to newsadvance.com. We have everything on there. You can just go to the sports tab and you'll be able to find it under the LU sports section. I also tweet out everything at Damien Sordelett on Twitter. So you'll be able to find all that content relatively easily.
And obviously we'll have all coverage of this Flames game against Campbell. Damien will be back Monday on the Fast Lane for covering the Commonwealth with Ed. So have fun with that. Looking forward to that. We'll recap that game then. Thank you so much for joining me. And thank you everyone to listening to this special edition of the Fast Lane previewing Liberty versus Campbell.